Hello everyone, it's Lindsay and I'm back with another Traveler's Notebook process. I'm having so much fun with this project and I am so glad that you guys are loving it too and have had a lot of positive feedback. So here's a look at some entries that I've been sharing on Instagram but didn't have videos for. And today I'm going to be documenting these two photos that I took with my sons when we did a day trip to Ventura Beach. And I just love how those photos came out. They're such handsome boys. I'm kind of partial to them. Here's a look at the papers that I have left over from the Henley kit from Felicity Jane. And I went ahead and cut them all down so that I had them sized to fit on the pages in my Traveler's Notebook. One for each pattern, including one for each side of the pattern, if that makes sense. And then all the leftover pieces I cut down into 3x4 cards that I could use to mount behind photos or use for journaling or whatever. And so I found I'm going to be more likely to use the papers if they're already cut down like this instead of being in the full 12x12. I was a little nervous because I don't know if you're a paper hoarder like me. I have tons and tons of paper and never use it. I've never been a scrapbooker. I've never been anything like that. But I have tons of scrapbook paper just because it's pretty and don't ever want to use it. So once I cut these down, I was able to kind of try them out and figure out if they were patterns that I wanted to use on the page. It wasn't as overwhelming having the big 12x12 sheets. They're easier to store. So I think from here on out, when I get kits like this, I'm just going to automatically cut down my papers into sizes like this, and they're just a little bit more manageable for me. So I went ahead and picked two of them from the Felicity Jane Henley kit, and this black and white polka dot, and then that really pretty light blue with the scallop border. I wanted something to kind of go with the high contrast of the photos. They are not super busy photos. They're very, high contrast, black and white, not a lot of frill. And so I wanted the page to kind of reflect that. So I'm using just some adhesive to adhere those down. And I don't know, it was super late at night when I was cutting all these papers and I somehow cut them all a little bit large. So I'm going to cut it down so that it fits. And then I do make sure that the papers are slightly less wide than the pages, leaving a little bit of a gap in the center of the spread. You'll see it when the spread's open. And that kind of helps with the opening and closing of the pages. And so those papers aren't rubbing on each other and it just opens and closes a little bit more smoothly that way. I know it's kind of obnoxious to have that big white open gap in the center, but I found that it works better for the longevity of the Traveler's Notebook as a whole. So here I have a whole bunch of pieces from the Henley die cuts, and I'm kind of staging everything, and I went ahead and pulled out some papers from some 6x6 pads that I had. I think both of these are discontinued, maybe just one. If I can find them, I'll link them down below. But I was looking for yellows because I only had that one yellow rose left, and I wanted to pull in some more yellow into the spread. And there weren't any yellow papers in the Henley kit, and so I just went through and found some from my other paper stash. And I have that floral sitting there. I kind of toyed with the idea of using that one, but I ended up not using it. So I went ahead and matted these word die cuts. These are from the Henley kit that say Simple Life, and I wanted them to kind of stand out from that polka dot background a little more, so I went ahead and fussy cut those out. And now I'm kind of trying out these papers to decide what I want to do. I really love that floral, but it just wasn't quite right. But these 6x6 papers aren't big enough to mount both of these photos. These photos I kind of made quite large. And so the two papers are actually from two different collections, two different companies even, but the color is very similar and the pattern is the geometric pattern in both of them. So it worked out just fine. So I went ahead and matted those. Sorry for my sick voice. I'm still sick. I know that has been every video this week. You're having to hear it, but I'm at least feeling better. I just sound yucky. So we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. So then this is the same yellow paper that I matted the Simple Life on, and I'll go ahead and mat that second photo on there. So at this point, I want to add just a little more detail. So I got this wild hair to decide to do some heat embossing. I should have done this before I adhered that blue paper into the traveler's notebook, but that's okay, it works. So I pulled out my travel size Tim Holtz stamp positioning tool. I love this thing. I just recently got it from scrapbook.com and it is amazing. I used to have the Hampton Arts stamp positioning tool, which has been discontinued, and I didn't realize how crummy it was until I got this one. This is such better quality. Here I have a stamp set. I think this is from the Happy Planner. I will link it down below if I can find the stamps online for you guys. And there's this stamp that says love, laughter, and smiles. Sorry for my head. You're going to get my head and my face quite a bit in this as I make sure everything's kind of lined up. And I'm having to kind of hang it off the edge funny because the traveler's notebook is bulky on the left-hand side, but it gets the job done. That's the nice thing about this Tim Holtz stamp positioning tool is it has those two edges that are open, so you can still use this to stamp on large projects and just let them hang off the page, which you couldn't do with some of the other stamp positioning tools I've seen. So I went ahead and prepped the paper with my EK Success powder tool, and now I'm stamping with some Versamark. It's a clear sticky ink, and then I can sprinkle some Wow opaque white embossing powder on there. And since I treated the paper with that EK Success powder tool, the embossing powder only sticks to the ink that I stamped with, and if there's any stray little bits, I can just use a dry fluffy paintbrush to wipe it away. It's not perfect, but it is fine. It works just fine. If I had stamped on that paper first, it would have come out better, but that's okay. And then I'll go ahead and use my heat tool, and you can see I'm letting it get good and hot before I take it to the paper. That way it doesn't warp the paper too much since it's already glued down, and it takes a little bit to get heated up because this paper is pretty thick, but as soon as it is shiny and bright white, then you know that it is melted and good to go. And so it just really adds this fun detail to the bottom there. So then I thought, what the heck, let's do some heat embossing on my photos. This is a bad idea, don't do this. So I have these mini alpha stamps from Sweet Stamp Shop. I don't think I've ever shown that company on my channel before, but they have adorable little stamps. They're kind of intended for planners and card making, but these alphas were the perfect size. I have identical twin boys, and so from what you can see in these photos, it's very hard to tell who's who. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp their names on the photos. That way I know who is who. So I'm being sure to treat that photo really well with that EK Success powder tool because it's a glossy photo paper. I know that that powder is going to really stick to it. And then I went ahead and lined up all those itty bitty alphas. This alpha set in particular is awesome because it has multiples of the letters, so I can spell out like Connor's name that has 2 N's and 2 O's all at once and stamp it all at once, which is great. But they are a little bit finicky because they're so teeny tiny, but they're nice for a project like this. So I kind of figured this was going to be weird to heat emboss on photo paper, so at this point, everything's working okay. I made sure to let my tool run for multiple seconds to get good and hot before I brought it to the photo, and I'm trying to keep it kind of back from the photo, moving back and forth pretty quickly, but it still caused the paper to bubble and start to melt. So if you're going to try this, be careful. I don't know that it's really a good idea. I did go ahead and do the same thing for Connor and applied tons of adhesive on the back of this to try to smooth out the warping that had happened. And once I got it stuck down, it wasn't too bad. You can kind of see that the photo is still a little bit warped. So I don't know that I will be doing that again. Kind of a bummer because it was a cute idea. I like that it's done that way, but whatever. I try it so that you don't ruin your stuff. How about that? I did go ahead and do just a little bit of journaling off camera around the photos just to remember that it was a trip to Ventura and we went and played at the beach that day, and used my roller date stamp to stamp the date. And it wasn't a perfect impression the first time, so I went ahead and just intentionally made it messy up there and filled in that kind of blank spot up there. And then now I can go ahead and just adhere down all these little die cut pieces. Have I mentioned how much I love the Henley kit? It is so adorable. But you guys, I just saw sneak peeks today of the May kit from Felicity Jane, and I'm going to be saving my pennies to get it because it is super cute. So stay tuned. I should be ordering it soon once it's available, and so I can add that into my collection. I feel like I've used up quite a few of the pieces from the Henley kit. By no means have I used all of it. I still have a lot of leftovers, but I really feel like I did get a lot of use out of the kit, and so I feel like it's definitely worth the money. They are a little bit pricey, but you get a lot of really good quality products that I have been able to get a variety of spreads and looks out of, so it was worth it in my book. So you can see I'm just layering up some of those pieces together, creating little clusters, nothing crazy. I did kind of stage everything before I turned the camera on, that way you weren't watching me fuss too much with all the pieces. But and here I wasn't quite sure how to nestle that piece in there because it leaves kind of a weird awkward blank spot on the right side, but that's okay, whatevs. We're just gonna live with it. And that is it. There's a look at my spread for today. So leave me any questions or comments that you have down below. Give this video a thumbs up if it was inspiring, and you can check out the links below the videos for all the products used today, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.